Judi, thanks for taking some time to get out of the office and get on camera for a minute. Definitely outside of your normal day-to-day office duties, but
Yes.
wanted to give our clients a chance to get to know you as a person a little bit, and you get to know them pretty well, and sometimes you're just kind of behind the phone. So if we could maybe just start at the top to get to know you a little bit, tell us like where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
So I was actually born in Vegas, but raised in Oregon. And I went to elementary school starting in third grade in Oregon. Little teeny tiny town. There were 27 kids in my graduating class.
Wow.
And I had a bunch of siblings. I was one of 5 kids. But we played a lot of sports, and I really did enjoy living in a small rural town. I didn't realize just how small it was until I moved here. This is like a huge city to me.
Okay.
But now I've been in St. George for 14 years. But I still don't call it home.
So do you call Oregon home?
Yes.
And you graduated from a small town. Where's the town?
Imbler, Oregon.
Wow. What is it?
Imbler.
Never heard of Imbler. Okay.
Most
I
people
guess
have
that's
not.
why.
Yeah.
So graduating class of 27 people. And then when do you move to St. George? Right after high school, or how does that go?
So I became a mom very early. 19, I had my first son, and his father passed away. So we moved here to get away from just everybody and the reminders up there. And I had some family that lived down here at the time. I moved out when I was he was a year old. Yeah.
So you moved here to St. George at 19, 20.
Yep.
And St. George was picked because you had family in the area.
Correct. Yep.
Okay. So you moved to St. George and you've got a little baby boy with you.
Yes.
What's that like?
Hard. I had family for the first about 2 years that I lived here, and then they've since moved on. My sister moved to Oklahoma, and my aunt moved to Las Vegas. So I've just been being a single mom, which means lots and lots of work and less time being a mom just to provide. So it's been difficult for sure.
So your baby's father passes away.
Mm-hmm.
You moved to St. George to be with family, and now family moves out of town?
Yes. Yep.
So what's that like?
It was really hard. I had to just kind of come up with friends from where I was working, and like lean on other people. And when they say that it takes a village to raise kids, it really does. So there were a lot of times it was really hard for me because when my son is sick and there's nobody else to watch him, I have to miss work. But I wouldn't change it for the world because it made me the person that I am today. And there's not very much that I know that I can't handle. So.
Yeah, I'll say that definitely throws you in the fire a little bit. That's so hard.
Yes.
So you're here in St. George then, and where are you working? Where'd you find work to support yourself?
When I first moved here, I worked at a diesel mechanic shop, and I was working there part-time as well as at Jensen Bayless, just as like a runner and front office girl. And then after that, I left the diesel mechanic shop and went to Ford, and I worked for Ford for about 7.5 years before I applied at McMullin.
What was that like working at St. George Ford?
It was good. They became like my family, my second family. I knew that if I ever needed anything, any of them would, step up to help me. But it was different. There wasn't a lot of females in the job. It's a lot of males. And towards the end, I worked in the service department, which was pretty much just males. And so it was different, than my normal day-to-day stuff. But I think also being a boy mom helps. I know how to work with males and talk to them so that they give, the right answers and get me what I need.
Yeah, they need a little bit different communication.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So how does that happen then that you end up at McMullin Injury Law as a personal injury paralegal?
So I actually had a case with McMullin. I was in a car accident, and I had already had a team there and had been working with them, and then I saw a job posting, so I applied. I also knew Kim, who is the receptionist. She's been there forever, as you know, and so it always helps when you know people. And I remember applying for McMullin and doing the interview, and one of the questions was, well, why are you leaving if you had been at Ford for so long? And I was like, it's actually really heartbreaking because I was leaving my family. But I also know being a single mom, you need enough to be able to provide for them. And it was a very scary leap that I had to make, but I needed to do it so that financially I could sustain my family better.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, so tell me about being a client then. So what happened? You were in a car accident or what was it?
Yep. I was in a car accident. It was me and my oldest son. He was in the front seat. We were actually headed up to Duck Creek for vacation. We had left early on a Friday, and we were stopped at a stoplight. And I saw somebody in my rear view coming really fast, and he tried to go over into the lane next to me and swerved and didn't make it and slammed into the back of us. Rear-ended.
Ouch.
Yep.
And so what type of injuries did you have from that?
I had a few bulged discs and I did a lot. My son was actually okay. Luckily, he did just chiropractic treatment. That was my first fear, right? Was because I'm a mom. So, but he was luckily okay. I had to do pain management, which also meant injections. I had the nerves cauterized in my neck and I treated for about 2 years. And even today, there are still times that I'm not okay and I still have neck and back pain.
That sucks.
Yes.
I feel like so many times there's not enough finality as we wish there was, right?
Mm-hmm.
We want to try to help people get back to pre-accident health.
Yes.
And then get them a settlement for what's fair for whatever happened to them. But sometimes it's never fully back, right? We just get people as close as we can.
Yeah, and I think the most unfortunate part and the one thing that I've had to learn now as working at McMullin is how important insurance is and to know what your insurance is and what your limits are. Because as a single mom, I had not the lowest, not the limit, the required 25, but I only had 50, and I thought that was plenty until it was me. And then I realized really quickly that it's not worth saving the extra $5 to $10 a month. You need that extra coverage because if that other person only has 25, you're stuck with being in pain forever and not being compensated the way that you should be.
Yeah. How old was your son when the accident happened?
So this was 4 years ago. So he was 11.
And he was okay.
Yes. Yeah,
Those
and luckily
kids tend to take a hit pretty well for whatever reason.
Yeah,
luckily.
and my youngest wasn't in the car, which I was grateful for because it actually happened on the back side of where my youngest sits. So I was grateful for that. But no, my oldest he did good. He did chiropractic and got plenty of massages and was well taken care of for sure.
So did our firm end up getting you a settlement from the insurance?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What about how much was that?
So the total that was given to me outside of medical bills and everything being paid once those were all paid back was about $20,000. That just for me. And then Carson ended up getting about another $3,000.
Okay.
Which first thing he decided to do was go and buy a PC, and now he's a gamer.
Okay, so it turned him into a gamer.
Yes, yes, it did.
So you got $20,000 then on top of that's after any legal costs and fees, and after getting all this medical care, 2 years worth of medical care paid for. So it was a number. Who knows? But it was quite a bit bigger than $20,000, I assume.
Yep.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, good. Well, I'm glad we were able to get some help there.
Yes.
What about now that you're on the other side of it and you're helping clients? Do you feel like that helps you to relate to them? Like, what's that like to now talk to people who are in your same shoes that you were in?
Yeah, no, I think it helps a lot because I will have some clients call me and they're frustrated. And I even had one the other day that was like, I know that this seems mean, but I'm mad at the person that hit me. I'm very angry. Is that wrong of me? And I say, no, I've been there. I completely understand it. So I give them peace of mind that way. But also when it comes to treatments, I've had people call me and they're like, I don't want to go get these injections or my nerves cauterized. That scares me. And I don't know this doctor. And some of them are doctors who worked on me. And it's helpful for me to be able to say, well, they did it. I had that procedure done by that doctor and I would recommend them. And I also want you to know that we're not going to send you to anybody that we don't know is going to take care of you.
Yeah, that's got to be super helpful for people to hear. That's cool. What are the hard parts about being a personal injury paralegal?
There's lots of hard parts.
Like what?
I think sometimes it is, our clients are difficult, right? Because it is a tough time in their life. But I also think sometimes we get clients that forget that we're on the same team, that we're working for them, not against them. And sometimes, that we also have been there through many clients and then ourselves, we know what we're doing. If they would trust us, like I say that a lot, and so does my attorney that I work with, you have to trust us because we are on your team and we're trying to help you. But that I mean, there's few and far cases that we have those issues with, but reminding people that we're here for them helps. It's also sometimes difficult, just to deal with adjusters. I feel like we have to ask 20 million times for things and we don't always get what we want. I always say that we are like babysitters for everybody. We are helping hold everybody's hand through this entire case, not just the clients. So makes it a little bit difficult, but eventually we get what we want.
Yeah. No, that's a big part of it. What about like some examples? Like, can you think of a recent example of like a small case, maybe the smallest case that you can remember settling in recent memory?
Mm-hmm.
Can you think of one?
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me a little bit about what that case was, what happened, and what was the outcome?
We actually had one that we just settled not that long ago. And it was sisters in a car, and the one sister got hurt more, but she had a surgery, but it was a very minor surgery. And her sister, got a settlement that was it was still a good recovery for her. But her other sister ended up getting full policy limits for both the liability and the UIM coverage. And she just barely turned 18 in December. So we just handed her 2 checks, and it was $71,000 that we just handed this 18-year-old.
That was in her pocket.
Yes.
After cut. Wow.
Yes. And she just was like, we're just looking at her, and I'm just like, please be smart. Like, I remember what I was like when I was 18, just like make the right choices. But it was quite funny because I remember meeting with her sister, and I was like, maybe you can talk to your sister and maybe she'll like give you a couple grand. And she was like, no, my sister will never do that. And I was like, I have sisters, so I get it.
So did the sister that got less wish that she had gotten hurt more?
No, I think for her, like her biggest thing was, and her biggest part of pain and suffering was watching her sister hurt. That crushed her because she was the older sister. And so it was harder for her to see her little sister hurt. So she knew that she deserved it. But at the same time, that sister jealousy, I could tell that she probably was like, wait, I only got like 15. She's got 71,000. So they still got a really good outcome. But just yesterday, her mom sent us a picture of the 18-year-old that she had just bought her first car by herself. Cool. So it was cool to see.
So like that, it's never worth it, right? Like if you could be the sister that wasn't hurt bad and only got a little bit of settlement to compensate for her not being hurt bad, and then the other one that was hurt, pretty badly and got this big check, I think people would typically, but you tell me what you think. Do you think people would typically choose that route to not get hurt, or do you feel like people would rather get the settlement?
I think that's hard. I think it depends on the person. Yeah. I think sometimes people forget that this isn't supposed to, it's probably not ever going to be this life-changing giant check that you're going to get no matter how hard we try. Sometimes it can be, but I think some people look at it like this is going to change my life forever, like financially, and it just most likely isn't. And so I think for me, I would rather be the one that got hurt less than the other one. Like I've had some other crazy cases, that there's pins in their bodies and they're not able to walk and learning to rewalk. And I'm like, I am so thankful that my car accident was as minimal as it is compared to that.
Yeah, totally. Right. Because you ended up you got a bunch of medical care covered, thank heaven, that helped you to heal mostly.
Yes.
And, and then got some compensation in your pocket. But now here you are years after this accident and you still do feel some ramifications from that.
Yep.
Yeah, that puts you in a tough spot. What about what's your favorite part about being a personal injury paralegal? What are the good parts?
Good parts, helping people, of course. That I've always loved to help others. I do that in many ways. My job is just one part of doing that. And I think that also comes as being a mom. A lot of these cases, I do have quite a bit of kids that I have to help and see awful photos from car accident and things like that. And my little mom heart just aches. And so to give some type of peace to not just the children, but the parents, I just love to be able to help however I can. And so that's probably my favorite part is that. And also the settlement part, right? Because it's like a bittersweet thing. Like your case is done, but also I've now built this relationship with you. For most of them, it's a few years. And I know some details about their life that are very sensitive things. And so it's hard because I'm like, here's your money, like, congrats, like you're finally done. But it's also like, well, I kind of am sad that I'm never going to see or talk to you again. It's just a very bittersweet thing, but I enjoy helping people and knowing that even though it was something very traumatic that happened in their life, they're getting some type of compensation for it. And that's the one part that I love about working where we do is that the biggest thing that McMullin says is that we will never take more than the client gets. And so that means that we will cut our fees however we can so that they're compensated and made whole way before we ever are.
Yeah. What about what's a caseload like? Like, you've got all these relationships with people, some of which you get quite close to because you work with them for a good year or two.
Right.
And then the case is closed and gone. But like, how many cases are you working on at a given time?
It fluctuates. I remember when I first started, I had to just start from the bottom. I wasn't like I took over anybody's caseload. I just started as a paralegal just by myself. And so I remember sitting there and going, oh, I need things to do. And now I have a caseload of about 75 to 80, sometimes more. And I'm like, whew, I miss those days when I didn't have anything to do because there's lots to do. So yeah, I would say like the best place to be, the sweet spot almost, is probably between 65 and 80. That's where I love to be. I am somebody that like needs things to do constantly. And so I don't like idle time. So yeah,
So how do you manage that day to day when there's 75 people that need you at the same time?
Sometimes it's very difficult. Sometimes I feel like there's days I get to work and all I did all day was just talk to clients and put fires out. But at the same time, you also have to be very good at managing your time, which is something that all of us paralegals have learned to do. And through hard times and easy times, we have to just be able to say, okay, like I need to focus. Here's what my goals are today, and just focus on those. But I think as a team, we work really well too. My attorney, if there's times where I need him to pick up the slack or vice versa, we work really well doing that.
And what attorney do you work with primarily?
I work with Jake Spencer.
And what's he like?
Jake is like the dad/grandpa of McMullin, I would say. He's
how old?
I don't even know. He's not old.
He's the grandpa?
Well, I say that because he is the guy that comes in every day with his packed lunch and eats the same thing every day, drinks a V8. Like all the rest of us are like going out to eat. And he's like, no, I got my bologna sandwich. I'm good. But he's also he's somebody that like cares, genuinely cares. And I've had to come to him with some very hard losses in my life. And he's somebody that I can come to and I'll sit there and talk to him, and I'm mid-crying, like, I gotta go. This just happened in my life. And he's like, starts getting teary-eyed. Like he's like, he has daughters. And so he's just very empathetic and very sweet, sometimes to a fault. There's times where I'm like, Jake, you need to be stern now, okay? I need you to tell this client. But it's a good thing. And I think he helps ground me too, because there's lots of times that I'll go in there and I'm like, okay, this is happening. I'm very angry and frustrated. And he's like, okay, take a deep breath. Like, let's figure out how I can respond so that they're not mad at you. They're upset with me, because we're on the same team. It's just that sometimes I think the hardest part too, I think, about this job is that clients will call in, and if we don't give the answer they want as a paralegal, now they want to talk to the attorney as if they're going to get a different answer.
Totally.
And I know that Jake's always like, well, I'm the one that told Judi to say that. Like, we are a team. And there are times, yes, where maybe the attorney has more information, but I always tell the clients too, like, for the most part, if you really need somebody to talk to, I know the most about what's going on with your case, because my attorney has multiple cases with multiple paralegals. So it's harder for him to keep track. So I'm like, I'm your go-to point. If I'm not there, then yes, ask for Jake. But for the most part, please come to me, because I'm going to be there and respond probably quicker than he can.
Yeah. What about, is there anything else that like you would want a client to know about you or about being a paralegal that would help them understand it while they're going through a case?
I mean, not really. I think the biggest thing, like I said, is just that we are a team. We're working together. And also to, before you get in a car accident, look at your coverages. Make sure that you have good UM coverage. Make sure you have rental. Make sure you know where you're sitting, because when a crash happens, it's too late. And I think if more people knew that, like I was young, and nobody had ever talked to me about any of these things. Had I known that, I would have upped my coverage before the accident and things would have been differently. I have some really hard clients that are single mothers like me and choose to not pay the car insurance, and then they get in a crash and all there is what the liability has if they had coverage. So my biggest thing is, like, I know that it's really hard financially to be a single mom, but please keep your car insurance and know what coverages you have.
Very cool. Good advice. Thanks for taking some time to get on video.
Yeah, thank you.